supposedly we're live. So I'm gonna look into that real quick and make sure that's the case because it'll be weird if we aren't. But no, it's not showing up. It is showing up here. Let me check here. Here. Bear with me. I'm working on it. Okay. One of them is, oh, they're both live. Okay. I understand. Now I just got to go and I got to add the thumbnail. And then we can really get cooking here. So that thumbnail is in. Okay. This thumbnail. There are two different streams going on at once. I understand. I'm understanding the game now. Okay. We are live. What's up, everyone? Happy to have you. My name's Rob. I'm in recovery from a gambling addiction. Made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. Now we are live on YouTube and Facebook, and I appreciate you guys bearing with me there while I got it set up. Basically, the reason that we're going live in this format is because we can start putting things on the screen again. What's up, my friend? Happy to have you. How we doing? And let's get started, I suppose. So I don't still think about gambling in a positive way, but I do make videos about gambling addiction. So it does come up quite a lot on a regular basis. I am someone that's in recovery from a gambling addiction. I made my last bet November the 12th, 2022. And now every single day I wake up and I try to help other people who are struggling with this addiction to get better, to live a better life. And so, yeah, I really, I don't think about it in a positive way, but definitely think about it. So if you're here early and you want to help the stream do better, if you want to get more questions rolling in, leave a like on the video. As we leave more likes, more people show up, and we got a good crowd already. Hopefully it becomes something quite large throughout the night. So what's up, Josh? How we doing, my friend? Appreciate you coming back. You're always here. I appreciate you. Love your content, helps more than you would ever know. Well, I really appreciate hearing that. You know, not every comment's a good comment. So seeing good things coming in, it does make it all worth doing. You know, as long as the content's reaching people and it's doing a good thing and it's, you know, expressing that you're not the only person on earth that has this problem, then that's something to feel good about. So appreciate you guys all for being here, and hopefully this is a good stream. Funny thing is, I have money and I don't need to win big. The money I have is already enough to win a simple life. Yeah, when it comes to gambling, it's not about money, right? A gambling addiction is not about money. It's about getting more. It's about this constant aspiration to stay in action. It's not necessarily that you need more money. You might tell yourself that you do, but it's because we gamble so that we can continue to gamble. There's no win that's big enough to satisfy us. We're just chasing after more wins over and over and over again. Oh, there's a good amount of people here. So hopefully we can go through a good amount of questions tonight. If you have questions about gambling, gambling addiction, and addiction recovery, drop them in the chat. And let me know where you're watching from, what platform you're on, and where you're from if you're interested in letting me know. My opinion on people who stream gambling, I think that a lot of them don't realize how much damage they're actually doing, but they are. And you might think like, oh, it's fine to just watch it. Like, I'm not actually doing it. But the reality is, if we're watching it, we're not giving our brains the chance to heal. In recovery from a gambling addiction, what we want is space away from gambling. If we're constantly around it, if we're constantly thinking about it, if we're seeing other people winning it, we're kind of mind betting and we're keeping ourselves enthralled. We're keeping ourselves locked in that mindset. Gambling is only about money. Shut the hell up. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm Rob, and I spent 6 years addicted to gambling, and for a very long time, I thought it was just about the money. I thought I was going to be a professional. I was going to get rich. It was going to be my dream, my dream becoming a reality. And I told myself it was about money, that if I just won enough, I'd be happy. I would feel proud of myself. It would prove that I knew what I was doing. At the same time, I was waking up in the middle of the night because of my gambling, lying about what I was doing when asked by friends and family and loved ones. I was missing time from work. I was missing school. I was chasing after this pipe dream of becoming a professional sports bettor when in reality, it was always working against me. And so you can measure a gambling addiction by how much you bet, but I think you kind of lie to yourself about the other things you're neglecting in your life. So anyone that gets mad when I make a statement, it's usually a good thing. It means that you're probably in the right spot. So I'm going to do my best to keep up with the chat tonight, but we have a really good crowd. So if you ask a question and I don't get the chance to answer it, please just re-ask it. Don't get offended. I'm doing my best to just answer questions as I see them. If you're about to gamble for the first time, just save the URL for this page and then come back if you ever need me. That's really what I could say. What would you really have done with the money? I really don't know. And it's like one of those things where you can think, man, if I just didn't sell this or if I just bought this, I would have much more. It's not worth kind of working through that mentally. But what I do know is that I wasted 6 years of my life gambling. I was gambling. I was waking up. The first thing I was doing was checking on how bets went the night before that I had placed. Then I spent all day chasing after more or using that money to try to get more. I was just not living my life. I was reacting to what happened in bets that were outside of my control. That's the way that I was living for a very long time. And so I don't know what I would have done with the money, but I know for certain that I wasted the time. Mm. So gambling within a bankroll is not a real thing. Christian, I'm really happy that you're here. Usually people get offended only when they feel called out by the content. I'm sure that you have some kind of strategy, some kind of bankroll, and you're going to figure it all out and you're going to be a winner. And I'm just the loser online who's telling you about the reality of gambling. And I'm wrong. You're right. Now, I get that. I get wanting to feel that. But this idea of a bankroll, a strategy, a system, bankroll management, what you're actually talking about is just losing your money slower. You may very well lose your money slower if you use bankroll management techniques, but you're not going to make money in the long run. If you were going to make money in the long run, you would have been cut off by now. It's not going to happen. So you don't have to believe me, but feel free to come back when you are ready. Great question, Jonah. Thank you for asking this. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, check the description of this video because you're going to see links to a video called How to Quit Gambling. It lays out the 4 things that I did, which I'll briefly touch on now. But I'm also now over 3 years clean from my addiction. And so it worked for me. It's not the only path, but it's what I did. So I found alternative things to do with my time that meant something to me. It ended up being making this content. Limited my access to money that was tempting me to gamble. Started going to support group meetings like the one that you're mentioning here. And also, self-excluding from the casinos, making it more difficult for myself to gamble. So if you want to help this live stream reach more people, leave a like on the video, regardless of where you're watching from. Mhm. Any addiction should be measured by how much time that you lose. I can agree with that. You can measure it by the money, but then it becomes kind of a really weird who suffered more contest. That's why I never actually talk about how much money I lost here on the channel because if I say an amount, someone might be like, "Oh, that's not enough, so I don't have to listen to you," or it's, "Oh, that's more than I lost, so I'm not as bad as you." It kind of just creates this really weird situation. And what's up to everyone in the chat that's saying hello? I'm happy that you guys are here. Do I still have debt right now? Lori, I don't. I was able to work for the 6 months following the last day that I gambled and basically pay everything off working 2 jobs. The 6 years that I was gambling, I found myself in debt 6 different times that it was like very significant, but there were all types of mini debts, right? Like owing friends money, borrowing more than I was able to pay back. It accumulated over time, but I didn't have like one giant debt that encompassed the 6 years of the gambling. It was kind of spread out. If you heart gambling, you're in the right spot. My name's Rob, and I used to heart gambling as well. But I spent 6 years gambling every single day for an average of 8 to 10 hours per day. It started off with sports betting, but by the end, I had memorized the soundboard of slot machines that I was gambling on. I was truly sick, and there's many people out there that can honestly relate to that, and that's not a good thing, but it's the reality of what we're dealing with. So if you feel like the only thing that gives you joy, the only thing that makes you happy is gambling, then this is a great stream for you to be on right now. Because what that actually is your brain lying to you. You're convincing yourself that you need gambling to live because you're used to getting this insane dopamine hit from it. But the reality is much different. And as we take time away, we readapt to that. So we'll see how it goes. 3 weeks gamble free. Very happy I don't have the urge to gamble each paycheck that you get anymore. Congratulations, Tyler. That is fantastic. Let's keep that rolling a day at a time, of course, my friend. But when you do eventually have an urge again, make sure that you're just prepared for it. I mean, it's great to think like, man, I quit. I'm never going to want to gamble again, but it's not realistic, right? We know what's going to happen. We've been through it. This is not probably the first time that you tried to quit. So instead of like, I'm never going to feel an urge anymore, prepare yourself. When I feel bored, I will do this. When I feel like I have a good amount of money, I will do this so I'm not tempted with it. Like, just prepare ahead of time, and then it doesn't matter if you get the urges because you want to act on them, right? Marco, missed you too, buddy. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone that's here that's a subscriber to the channel that's been around. I really appreciate you guys. Obviously, we wouldn't be here talking to each other if no one listened to me, or else I would just be kind of shouting into the void, which I did for a couple years, I will say. I did play poker as well, yes. How do you stay away with every ad and commercial pushing it in our face? So you need to look at the ads in a different way. You're seeing a ton of advertising for a reason. It's not because, they like wasting money. It's because the advertisements, you can think of them as like the bait on the end of a fishing hook. It is there to bring you back to where you were before. The only reason you get promotional offers, free bets, you see these ads is so that the casinos can convince you to come back in and spend more of your money. You might think maybe if I just do the free bets, that'll be a good thing. That's not a good thing either because you're playing with fire. And I don't know any compulsive gambler who's ever gone back and been able to just stick to free bets or stick to a budget. It eventually spirals. And that's just kind of how things go because our brains become adapted to a certain way of gambling. And then we get there. So want to go and gamble right now. You're in the right spot, my friend. You could be saying this as like I'm in a bad position. You could be saying this as like a troll. It really doesn't matter. The reality is that gambling addiction is super real. And it's really tempting to go back because we think that it's going to be different the next time. We have memories of wins. Why can't that happen again? Why does it have to be a loss? We put ourselves into terrible positions chasing after it. So if you do feel like you want to go and gamble right now, this is the perfect place to be. If you ever do decide that you're truly ready to stop gambling, the description of this video over on YouTube has basically everything that you need to get yourself clean. Let's see. My friend just invited me over to watch the game, and I can't go because I know I will wind up gambling on it. How do I get to a point where I can watch it and not have the urge? Well, being self-aware enough to know that is fantastic. So I'm sure that's a huge improvement over where you probably were maybe just a couple of months ago. So congratulations on that, my friend. Over time, you will find that if you truly are a sports fan, you will find some enjoyment in the game again. It'll happen. It can take a year, it could take 2 years, it'll happen. But what I noticed is that I thought I was a really big sports fan, and then I stopped gambling, and I realized that I was just a really big gambling fan. And I had put myself into a really bad position where I thought I have to watch sports because I'm a sports fan, but all I really wanted to do was gamble on it. So maybe you will never go back to watching sports casually, but maybe you'll go back to enjoying it for what it is, just kind of like a central focal point of hanging out with your friends. It's different for everyone. So, you know what I mean? Poker is gambling. Gambling is any betting or wagering for self or others, whether for money or not, no matter how slight or insignificant, where the outcome is uncertain or depends upon chance or skill. What I find is people ask questions like this when they want an excuse to be able to continue to gamble. Oh, well, poker's different, so I can do that. Oh, the stock market's fine. That's investing, right? You're going to come up with 100 excuses so that you can keep gambling, but just know that it's gambling. Gambling is a horrible addiction. I've seen people lose thousands of dollars that they couldn't afford to lose. Super sad. It is. It is an addiction where it's the only addiction where you can convince yourself that doing more of the addiction will fix the problems that the addiction caused, which makes it really difficult to leave it behind. And so people will end up losing everything because we keep going thinking, "Hey, remember that time I won? It's going to be different. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine." And then it doesn't work. Really important call out here, Stevie. This does not work. Do not do this. This does not work. I used to think this worked, right? Oh, I'll just watch XQC spin slots because that'll be better than me doing it myself. No, no, no. What you're doing is you're continuing the addiction in your brain. As you begin recovery and as you stay away from gambling, your brain rewires itself. It gets back to a point where you can enjoy normal things in life again. But it won't get to that point if you continue to gamble or continue to immerse yourself in the gambling environment. Genuinely, I thought this too. And objectively, it's like, yeah, I'm not losing my money. So what's the big deal? You're not letting your brain heal. It's like keeping one toe in the water. It's not worth doing. It's not worth doing it. Excuse me. Poker's definitely not different, but I miss playing that too. I get it. It's okay to miss things, guys. Like if you are quitting gambling because it's done a lot of damage in your life, it's like you don't have to just say like it's horrible and I hate everything about it. Like you wouldn't have gotten addicted to it if you didn't like it, right? But we need to recognize that maybe we're at a point where the positives of not gambling outweigh the negatives of gambling. It just takes a while to get to that point. So we got lots of noises. I don't know if anyone can hear it or if the mic's blocking it out, but we got sirens on the street. I decided to do my laundry tonight when I knew I was going to live stream. So really, really smart decisions being made over here. But if you like smart decisions and you like what we're talking about, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I work hard each and every day to put out content that I hope can genuinely help people. And if you or a loved one struggling with gambling, then this is the place to be. Okay, spiel's done. Gambling is horrible. I agree, Marco. That is what it is. Let's see. If the comments are a little too long, I won't be able to put them up, guys, just because like they're gonna run off the screen. No bad noises, that's good to know. Let's see. And again, with the gambling live streams, not good. You're continuing the addiction for yourself. Mm, let's see. What is the definition of a gambling addiction? Going a few times a year? Jane, great question. And you're watching from Facebook, so I can't direct you to the description of the YouTube video. But in that description, there are 20 questions. The 20 questions are used by a group called Gamblers Anonymous to determine if someone has a gambling problem. And what you can basically say to yourself is like, am I spending too much time gambling? Am I gambling with money I can't afford? Am I losing sleep because of it? Am I losing time from work or school because of it? Is it the only thing that makes me feel happy? Do I do it when I'm bored? Do I do it when I'm angry? Do I do it when I'm frustrated? And if you're answering yes to these, it's likely an issue for you. And it kind of, there's no like clear point at which someone becomes one. It's just the accumulation of negatives in your life. And I like to use the 20 questions to kind of determine that. So it's the GA 20 questions if you wanted to look them up. Do you think there's a point that people can lose $5 and be okay with it? Your friends will lose $5 and be okay, but in your head, you have to have it back. Gambling addiction doesn't impact everyone, but it can impact anyone. And so you got to know yourself. Are you someone that can walk away and be content with that? Or, are you lying to yourself if you say yes so that you can just keep going over and over again? I'm someone that would have to win it back. So, so I'm very familiar with how that feels. Mm. Isn't addiction poor self-control in general? I'm glad that you brought this up. No, addiction is not a self-control issue. Addiction is a dependency issue. We develop a dependency on gambling such that it actually feels like if we don't gamble, we will die. That's how serious it gets. And you say, "Oh, you know what? Just stop." Well, just stop using your phone. Just stop eating the snack that you've eaten every night for the last 10 years. It's very difficult. Now, in our case, the vice that we've chosen causes a lot of damage. And so that's what's more difficult, or that's the big kind of reason to try to quit. But no, it's not a self control issue by any means. Self control is involved in terms of saying, like, I want to get better. I need to get better. So I'm going to go out and get some help. That's self control to say, like, hey, I'm going to take control of my life. But, anyone can develop this problem. Exactly. Addiction is a physical dependence. Well said, my friend. Well said. We got some smart people in the chat tonight. So I appreciate that all of you are taking the time to listen to me, have conversation with me, ask some questions. This is great. Is day trading gambling? Yeah. Gambling for me is any betting or wagering for self or others, whether for money or not, no matter how slight or insignificant, where the outcome is uncertain or depends upon chance or skill. Basically, what I've found, I've been live streaming and doing YouTube videos for 3 years now. What I have found is that if someone says, "Is this gambling?" and names the thing, the answer is yes for them, because they wouldn't ask that question if they didn't think that it was a possibility. Today's your first day trying to stop. You're using Gambit. Hopefully it works, and I hope, because it's destroying your life. I'm sorry it's destroying your life. I'm sorry what you're going through, but I'm proud of you for making the decision to begin this process, my friend. So I'm wishing you well. That's dope. Let's see. Discipline, self-control. I'm glad that you guys are here. Like, I've done so many of these. I've seen every possible comment that you could say that you think would offend me or make me feel bad about myself or what happened to me. But all I really care about is that you now know where to get help. No matter who you are, no matter where you're from, all I want you to get from this page is that if you ever have a gambling problem, you can come back. And if you decide to come back, what I hope to provide are resources and help for you to genuinely improve your life. So, is investing in the stock market gambling? It can be. So ask yourself, like, am I going to buy and hold this asset for 40 years? Or am I going to buy and hold this asset for 4 days and I want it to double in price? Do you hear like the difference in kind of the goal of what you're trying to do? So I think one's investing, one's gambling, but it certainly can be. And then I think that what's particularly dangerous about the stock market is like you can lie to yourself really easily and be like, oh, you know what? This is investing. This is intelligent. This is something different, right? And I think that's really scary because it can literally just be gambling. So again, if I'm missing your comments, feel free to re-ask the question. I am doing my best. What's up, Shreya? This is my girlfriend. Hi, Shreya. She's gonna be happy now. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you. Been away a week from harmful forms of gambling. Congratulations, my friend. What do you mean by harmful forms of gambling? Like you're still doing some gambling or you just kept yourself away from all of it? Pass, feel free to pass. This is not everyone's cup of tea, but if you ever do decide you want to quit gambling, feel free to come back. Appreciate you being here. Because I know this gets pushed out randomly, right? Not everyone that's here wants to be here and needs to be here, and maybe you're just scrolling through. But if you are here and you're spending time, I appreciate you nonetheless, and I hope that you can get some value out of hearing my story. For those that don't know my story, I spent 6 years gambling every single day for about 6 to 10 hours a day, usually closer to 8. And I put myself into debt 6 different times over the 6 years that I had to work a second job to pay it off. The last day that I gambled was a 12-hour gambling binge where I put myself into debt for the next 6 months. I started with sports betting, but I ended by memorizing the soundboard of slot machines. So, yeah, been through it. If, if you got any questions, hopefully I can answer them. Good to see a YouTube live that isn't either bait or political rage bait. Not only that you're helping people stop gambling. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. That's why I don't get as many views as maybe the other kinds of YouTubers, but hopefully we're able to reach the right audience and we're able to get people help and it's real and it's just coming from the heart. Mm, Let's see. I haven't gambled in 7 months. Occasionally, I still think about it, but I really don't feel the urge. I just stopped, no GA or anything else. I don't think you need anyone else. Would you agree? I wouldn't really agree, but then again, everyone's different, right? Maybe you're just the exception to the rule that stands. That it's easier to recover if you're doing it in a community. Wishing you well, regardless. Happy for you. I don't think this is the right path for most people, though. Did you do CBT post gambling? I really didn't actually. I've worked with a lot of doctors on content and gotten to the mindset a little bit of what I've been through, but not in a formal therapeutic setting. Although I think it would be a good thing for sure. Is controlled gambling considered addiction? I'm guessing that you're asking this because you think that you've controlled your gambling. If you're a gambling addict, you didn't control your gambling. It's a matter of time until you spiral. But not everyone's a gambling addict. So see you soon, maybe, maybe never again. I don't know. Some of your content has helped so much. I'm from a family of addictive personalities, and I always thought my addiction was different. It really isn't any different. It's fascinating when you kind of say that and when you think about it. Like everyone's story is unique, but the driving like factors of what a gambling addiction is and how it kind of impacts someone's life, if vaguely it stays the same across the board, no matter what your story is, depending on it doesn't matter what game you play, like it's it's just kinda crazy to think about, but I'm happy that you're here. Addiction is addiction, and hopefully people can get some help. So again, before I continue on with the questions, I'm happy that you guys are here. We get lots of good comments, lots of bad comments, but at the end of the day, all I want you to take from this live stream is that you're not the only person on earth that has this problem. There's resources available, and the number one place to find those resources, as of like video resources, is my YouTube channel. I hope that this channel can be something that helps people for years to come because I spent a long time gambling and it was a really, really terrible way to live. Will the urges to gamble stop if you quit, and how long will it take? The urges will fade over time as gambling becomes less of a focal point in your life. We basically, I forget which philosopher said it, and I'm butchering the hell out of this, but like we become what we do repeatedly. And so if you're someone that's repeatedly doing things to become a better person, to, work out, to pursue a career, to be happy, to be healthy, to be a good person, you're going to gradually want to gamble less because you're not spending every day locked in your room or your bathroom spinning away a slot machine. They do go away. How long it takes is dependent on your own recovery. Someone that's gambled every day for 10 years is going to have a much longer process than someone who's gambled, twice a week for a year. Completely dependent on you. It took me about maybe 6 months before I really stopped feeling urges constantly. I was introduced to the 12-step way and it's working. I'm learning a lot about the addiction in myself and why I gambled. Have over a year now being free. Congratulations, Jill. That is dope. I love that. I did 12-step in the beginning as well, and it was a really integral part of my recovery. And so whatever's working, keep it rolling. They say also in that group that you don't need to know why you ended up gambling, but I always think it's important in terms of like growth and self-introspection to get at least some kind of idea. And so I'm proud of you. Keep it rolling. Marco, love you too, buddy. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone that's here that keeps popping out, that's been supporting the channel for years. We're growing, we're doing our best, and hopefully we can just keep that rolling. You won a bunch, but you also lost what you made 2 nights ago. I never am up. You've given me the perfect segue to say my wonderful saying. All wins are future losses. You're going to have wins if you gamble. No one's saying that you're going to lose every time you place a bet, but you're going to lose more often than you win, and there's never a big enough win to satisfy you. So if you keep going, naturally, all wins will eventually be given back and become future losses. And that's what's really difficult to come to terms with. How do you quit? How do you quit after a big win? Think about what's going to happen next. Are you going to hold on to that, or how long will it be before you give that money back? I also like the 12 steps, my friend. They were a really, really helpful part of my early recovery. I will quit tomorrow. I've heard that before. I did the same thing. The last day that I gambled, I went on like a huge binge because I wanted to get it out of my system, basically. So be careful, my friend. I hope you're able to begin the process of recovery. Why not start right now, is what I would say. Oh, my friend, thank you so much for this gift. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for what you do. I'm recovering from slot machines. It's brutal. Let's talk about it. What have you been doing so far to stay away? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat what you've done to stay away, because not just you, anyone, because I always hear I've tried everything to stop and I can't stop. And then I ask what happened, and like most people haven't tried too much yet. So let's see how it goes. But maybe you have tried and maybe it's working. Let's see how it's going. Erica, thanks for being here. I really do enjoy the work that I do. It's still work. I make videos every day. It's, definitely not as hard as the work that I was doing when I was gambling and trying to, survive. And that was rough. But, I am happy to do what I do. And I really hope that it makes a difference. That's the best feeling out of all of this, is like now I'm spending my time on things that might matter, that might help people. How fast is the addiction settling? Like, how fast can you get addicted? You could be addicted on your very first spin. It could happen. Some people are just predisposed to it. But if you keep doing something over and over again, you're going to develop a dependency on it. How can you stop when you live in Vegas? It's interesting. You can self-exclude from each individual casino and make it more difficult, but I don't think it's like a particularly easy place to stop gambling. But there are a lot of Gamblers Anonymous meetings there, as far as I know. But in terms of quitting anywhere, it comes down to four things: finding alternative things to do with your time that mean something to you, limiting your access to money by having someone manage the bank account, maybe a trusted loved one, self excluding from the casinos to make it more difficult to gamble, and going to support group meetings. And those four things together made a huge difference. So my debts were spread out over the course of the 6 years, but I managed to get myself out each time by working two jobs to grind it out and pay it off. I never had one giant debt that lasted for numerous years. Most of my debts lasted for between 2 to 3 months. So, in my own experience, I don't have the best answers to like years and years of debt. And I don't want to just make something up, just tell you the truth on this channel. Not always a good thing, but I always tell you the truth. I don't always gamble. I don't gamble because I know myself. I'm addicted to absolutely everything and I can't stop. Well, knowing yourself goes a long way here. If you know that you're going to end up hooked to something, it's not worth going down that path. I mean, just well said, my friend. Sports gambling has taken a lot of people by storm, and I'm sure it will only get worse. I think that, like, if you were to poll, let's call it 12 to 22-year-olds, is sports betting gambling? The large majority would not answer yes. I don't know if they would know that it's particularly not gambling, but they might say, like, I don't know. Because the way that sports betting is pushed, it looks like a game of skill. It looks like something, if I just study the lines, if I know enough about the game, I'm going to make money doing it. That's dangerous. That's why I think it's going to take so many people by storm. And I was one of them, right? I wanted to believe that I could be a professional gambler. And look how look how that turned out. We're looking at the name of this live stream that we're having right now. So regardless of where you're watching from, I'm Rob. I've been through it. If you feel like you're the only person on earth that has this addiction or knows someone that has this addiction, you're not alone. It is really something that I've been through. Is it bad to think investing during gambling recovery is paying off debt first, save as much as you can, and quit gambling the best path? Thanks. Yes, that it would be the best path, just mathematically and objectively. And then when it comes to investing, you should only be doing things that are long term. Like right now, the only investing that I do is within a 401k because I can't touch it for like 40 years. And I'm not tempted to trade on it because I can't touch it for 40 years. And so it really does make a difference. I would not be thinking about trying to get rich. I'd be thinking about trying to get yourself out of the hole that you dug yourself. And trying to do it all in one big swing is the gambling mindset that got us into the situation to begin with. So thinking that we're going to get out of gambling debt with more gambling is ironically what we do. We got to remember that it's not going to work that way. So post gambling, how did I get out of debt? I was grinding 2 jobs, working 80 hours, 70 more realistically. 80 is crazy. 70, I would say. So if I miss your question, please feel free to ask it again. Gambling has the highest rate of unaliving out of any addiction, and I can't put that on screen just because YouTube and Facebook will shut us down because the big bad tech companies don't like that word. But I'm really happy that you guys are still here. I'm happy that you're in the chat. But yes, it is a very scary addiction because if we do it too much, if we put ourselves into this horrible position, it can feel hopeless. It's like I might be looking at years and years of damage to repair and it might feel completely hopeless. So it's really important that in recovery we get a good grasp of what we need to do to get ourselves out of whatever the position is that we are in. It happens with time. Did I gamble for fun or to make money when I was a gambler? It started off as something that was fun, then it became a way to make money, or so I thought. Then it was a mixture of both, and it depended on the day as to what I was doing it for. But in the end, I was gambling because I was used to gambling. I had lost all enjoyment, and I obviously wasn't making money by the end. It's a really scary lifestyle. Um, so I always like to tell people, like, ask yourself why you're gambling, and if the answer no longer makes sense to you, that's an obvious sign to check out some resources. This is a question that happens all the time, my friend. Don't think I'm picking on you with this one. So I quit live casino because I have an addiction to it. If lottery is not a problem, is it okay to work with that, or should I quit cold turkey? We should quit cold turkey because what you're doing right now is you're bargaining. You're looking for a way to stay involved in the gambling, even though it's all the same thing. Oh, I only have a roulette problem, so I can sports bet. Oh, I only have a sports betting problem, so I can do the lottery. You're just giving yourself more gambling excuses so that you can keep going, you don't have to quit. If you genuinely want to get better, if you want to live a better life without gambling and you want to become a person that you would genuinely want to look in the mirror and be proud of, don't do the lottery tickets. And I'm not picking on you. We all did it at some point. Why do people get addicted to gambling? Well, as you gamble, it releases dopamine in your brain the same way that drugs or alcohol would, and it creates a dependency eventually as you build up a tolerance towards it. So it's not necessarily that the person gambling thinks like, oh, the slot machine is like the craziest thing of all time, but the adrenaline and the dopamine that is created by them gambling is what gives them that rush, that thrill. If you look at a slot machine, it's boring as hell. But when I was addicted to gambling, I spun slots because I needed the action. I wanted to keep putting bets in, keep myself at risk, and so yeah. Mm, let's see. I have 2 separate live streams on YouTube. Yes, YouTube started a new thing where you got vertical and you got horizontal, and, I guess the streaming website that I've aggregated the streams on has decided to make it 2 separate streams, but to me, it all comes into 1 feed, so it's all good. Happy that everyone's here. Regardless of where you're watching from, please, if you are interested in getting better, if you are interested in living a life free from gambling, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We post content there that is more in depth than we can on a Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok setting. And I genuinely hope that it helps people. And subscribing is the way to get the videos recommended to you. Yeah, don't tempt yourself. Don't do anything that you think is gambling because you want to like say like, oh, I'm gonna quit one thing but keep rolling with another. You're only playing with fire, and it's only a matter of time until it goes bad. And online gambling can be worse than in person, but they're both the same thing at its core. I think what makes online particularly worse is that you have a higher frequency of play. I really think that's one of the only main differences that ends up mattering is like what you can do online, it would take you multiple hours to do in person, but you could do it online in a couple of seconds. And I think that's the problem. Mm. If you're day trading, you're gambling. Yep. If you ask me, is something gambling? The answer is just yes, because you wouldn't be asking that if you didn't think it was gambling. Mm. Can't taper casinos. Exactly. Gambling is not something that you can kind of taper off, but there's this idea of harm reduction. I think that harm reduction is a tool rather than an actual effective strategy. It's a tool to show you that you can't reduce your gambling, but if you need it proven to you, I think that's kind of the way that they do it. So get this question all the time. This is one of the most asked questions that I get, and I never answer it because I want to know why you're asking the question. If I tell you how much money I lost and it's more than what you lost, you know what you'll say? You'll say, "Oh, well, Rob's a gambling addict. I'm not. I'm fine. I'll stop when I get that bad. That's a gambling addict." And if it's less than what you lost, you'll say, "Well, Rob doesn't have anything important to tell me. He didn't lose enough." So instead of telling people how much I lost, I tell you I went into debt 6 times over the course of 6 years to the point that I had to work a second job to pay that debt off. And if that doesn't explain it to you, you probably just asked to troll, or you don't yet need to be here. Maybe I don't know. 4 months free from gambling. Congratulations, my friend. I'm proud of you. If you're in the chat and you're someone that's abstaining from gambling, you're staying away from gambling, let me know how long it's been since your last bet. Love hearing that. Um, if you're asking the question in this way, then for you, it probably is gambling. But if you're going to buy and hold something for a long time, most people are going to be investing. Let's see. I started off betting with bookies, but by the end, I was taking cash advances on credit cards. Basically, like I did it all over the course of the years. And the gambling obviously shifted with the amount of access to funds that I had. But yeah, I did it all. I started gambling when I was 18 with daily fantasy sports. And that was like, oh man, I love watching the Phillies. I love watching the Sixers. Like, let me just do these little contests. This is fun. And then by the end, I had memorized the sounds that Pragmatic Machines made. Pragmatic Slot Machines is an online slot provider. And I knew how much money each spin won or lost just based on the noise. Like generally, like the noises were kind of banded. So like if you hit a certain amount, it made a different noise. And I knew like without even looking at the phone, I memorized like the sounds. That's how bad it got. And so that happened over the course of 6 years. 6 months not gambling. Congratulations, my friend. I stopped thinking about it all the time when I wagered my rent money, and me and my disabled and wheelchair bound father almost ended up homeless. Eric, I'm sorry to hear that that happened. I hope that everything's going better now. But yeah, gambling can put us into some really bad positions. So, wow. I'm very sorry to hear that. Been a month. Congratulations, my friend. And I'm celebrating with you guys. Like the first couple of months are obviously the hardest, and then it gets a little bit easier because we stop thinking about gambling so often. But you're pushing through those first couple months, and it's like that's when your mind wants gambling as that quick and easy out, whatever the situation is. So be proud of yourself, my friend. That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here, my friend. All I do is show up and record videos, silly little videos in my room. So I'm glad that they've been helpful. I like to say I went from making TikToks in my mom's basement to making TikToks in my own basement. So it's only up from here. You know what I mean? Rock bottom will make you not think about it anymore. Money is replaceable. Remember that. Rock bottom is. Some people say it's a myth. Because only end up going further down. It can only get worse if we keep going. So life gets better when we leave it behind. That's for sure. Mhm. This is a nice comment. When betting starts to take over your thoughts, it can feel exhausting and isolating, but you're not weak or broken for experiencing it. Compulsive urges often hook into stress, reward, and escape, not a lack of discipline. Well said. So, everyone heard that? Check it out. Pause there and think about it if you want, but well said, my friend. 1 month clean. Congratulations, my friend. That's dope. All right. So, this concept of like, I'm seeing other people win. So say you saw your friend win a bet, and now you're like, man, I can't believe I stopped gambling. I would have won if I just made this bet. My friend wins. Why can't I go back and have that be me? It doesn't matter. If you win, you will not stop and you will lose everything. It does not matter if they won, because if they keep going, they will lose everything. All wins are future losses. So it doesn't matter if you missed out on a win because you were gonna give it back. Gotta remember that. Yes, the hacksaw slots, exactly the same kind of concept, right? It's like a standardized what do they call it? Like a standardized set, and then they put a wrap around it to be a different game. That's all it is. You're just talking about the same thing over and over again. There is definitely a difference between entertainment and addiction. So once you've crossed that line, you can't go back to the entertainment side. What was my favorite line of defense when someone told me that gambling was bad back then? I would say that they were a bad gambler and I wasn't, right? Like it's the kind of comments I get on on my streams now. It's like people saying like I'm the one that has the problem and not them. They don't have a problem. They're good at it and I'm just bad. So I would say like I'm getting good at this. I can get better at this. That was kind of my defense. Like that it was a skill game. What's up, my friends? Thanks for being in the chat. Thanks for being here. Oh, thanks for the gift, my friend. Appreciate that. Good day, my brother. Good day to you as well. Would love to do a video with you one day regarding how bad South Africa is in the gambling industry and your recovery story. Shoot me a message. Would love to have you. I really bring a lot of people on the podcast. Would love to have you. So yeah, just shoot me a email. I'm gonna put my email in the chat. If you want to come on the podcast, just email me. Appreciate you. Any upcoming documentaries in the works? So there's a bunch of content coming out, not necessarily on my channel. There's a Vice documentary coming out Thursday. So that'll be out Thursday night. That's a good one. You should check that out. I've gotten to see it. Then there's a couple people making pieces right now. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon that those roll out. But there's a big interest right now in like the documentary and news communities covering sports betting. I think that it's just the start. Sports betting is going to be so much better than slot machine gambling at the end of this. Don't go from one addiction to another. No, that's a horrible idea. So it might feel really tempting when you first quit gambling to go and drink more or use drugs, but you'll develop an addiction to that. And so rather than doing that, start to focus on embracing the feelings of boredom that you might experience once you leave behind this really overstimulating environment that gambling created. It's not going to be fun, but you got to embrace some boredom. This is interesting. Las Vegas is an entire city built on people not understanding math. I think that the large majority of the time I was gambling, I understood the math. But I also had this belief, for some reason, that I would be the exception to that math, that I was different, that I was better. And that was the lie that I was telling myself. I knew the math, I just didn't think that it applied to me. Jill, I made a video about this. It was super goofy looking as I was holding a giant cucumber. But the saying that once you become a pickle, you can never become a cucumber is true. Once you become addicted to gambling, you don't go back to being a casual gambler. You're someone that always ends up spiraling once you start gambling. And that's the reality of it. So we just kind of have to accept that. And that's not really the end of the world. We feel like it's the end of the world because we're used to gambling for everything. But as we take time away, we're like, oh my God, there's like 10 billion things to do that aren't gambling. Why was I so obsessed with that? But it's just because when you're in the thick of it, it feels like the only thing that's good enough. It's the only dopamine that's making you feel okay. And that's super dangerous. So before I continue answering questions, a couple of things. If you haven't yet checked out the YouTube channel, if you're watching on Facebook, for instance, come and check out the channel. I post videos here that go more in depth than I can do on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. They are longer. They are more like if you have a problem, what to do to get help. And so if you or a loved one struggling with gambling, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's where we make the best content that we have. 83 days clean. Congratulations, Kathy. That's awesome. Keep it rolling. Gambling can quietly take more and more money, time, relationships, peace of mind before people even realize what's happening. Yeah, I don't know anyone that would be like winning money and think like, oh, this is bad. I should stop this. And that's the danger of like winning in the beginning and then developing a problem is like you think that's the norm when in reality that's the exception. And if you keep going, you eventually lose. But in the heat of the moment, you're like, oh, you know what? This isn't so bad. So it ends up being that you need to experience some negatives before you really get to the point that you're like, okay, I should stop. But hopefully you can experience fewer negatives than I did before you get to that conclusion. I have this childhood financial trauma type of thing where my childhood, I saw my parents always short with money and stuff. I didn't want that to happen to me, so I keep gambling, man. Ironically, that's causing the same pattern to play out. And I get it. Like, if you feel financially behind, gambling presents itself as this quick solution to the problem. But if you really take a step back, the very thing that you're seeking to avoid by gambling is what's being caused by your gambling. And it's not just you, it's everyone in one way or another. If you want to break that pattern, it doesn't come through gambling, it comes through hard work, building our character, becoming someone that we genuinely want to be. You'll get there. I promise that. Can I sign off for your meeting attendance? Yes. There, my signature's trash. You could just fake it if you want. Yep. Even when you know the math, it's always complete denial, thinking that you'll win anyway. Done it before. Exactly. Well, you know what? Why do I have to lose? I have a good strategy. I know about sports. I can win. Then you realize it doesn't matter if you know about sports and you lose, but then that would mean admitting defeat if you stopped. That would mean that you're not a good gambler, so you have to keep going. And you create just a terrible cycle doing that. So I plan about doing more videos about online gambling. The streamer that I had on was very interesting, and I think there's lots of other stories of streamers or even regular people. Yeah, I mean, when I interview people, there's a mixture of types of gambling that they did. What you'll find is there's kind of a bias towards in-person gambling, and the reason that is the case is because people who want to speak about their addictions are typically they have some time away from gambling, and when that's the case, like if they have some time away, online gambling's so new that a lot of them did their gambling in person and now are years clean. So it's just kind of a reflection of who's willing to share their story as to what kind of stories you hear. With that being said, Mhm. Finally called 988 when you hit rock bottom and you realized you should call when Googling the location of a DraftKings establishment and imagining yourself driving through with your car and hurting others. Wow. Eric, I'm really happy that you gotten away from it, my friend. But that's where a gambling addiction can take you. That's scary. Ah, here we go. Another way of asking how much did you bet? My friend, why do you want to know how much I was gambling? What would that change? What would that give you? What would you benefit from hearing that? The only reason people ask this question is because they're looking for an excuse. Either an excuse not to listen to me because I didn't lose enough, or an excuse to keep gambling because I lost more than you did. So instead of talking about the amounts, why don't we talk about what it did to my life? I was lying to other people, stealing money, making up reasons that I needed money, losing sleep, staying up all night, chasing after wins. I was lying my ass off. I was stressed, angry, bored, depressed, anxious all the time. And of course, broke because I was gambling everything that I had. Why not talk about that? That's what gambling addiction is. It's not measured by the amount of money that you lost, bro. It's just not. Doesn't matter. You're a subscriber. I appreciate you, my friend. It sounds I hate it. I hate that I have to ask people to subscribe. It's like I'm just doing my job, but I sound like I'm trying to sell you something. All I want is that the number goes up so that YouTube shows it to more people. Because if YouTube shows it to more people might find help. That's all it really is. But I always sound like an ass when I say it, and I get it. So if you don't like hearing me say it, I get it. It is what it is. But I'm happy that you're here, my friend. Mm. Jarrett, I cannot wait until you're ready, my friend. I see people like you all the time, every single time I go live. Oh, Rob, I'm better than you at gambling. Rob, I haven't lost. You're just a bad gambler. Just save the page, bro. You don't have to fight with me. You're the winner. I'm the loser. Save the page. And you can come back and just laugh at every video you see. I don't care. You're going to need it eventually. And when you do need it, please just message me. I'll be very glad to put you in touch with resources, man. All the time. Oh, God. All the time. Let's see. Polymarket and prediction markets. Kalshi was running so many ads on this channel. It's like absolutely mind blowing what they were like categorizing themselves as. I sent them a cease and desist and they stopped running ads, but next is going to be Polymarket and all these garbage apps too. Like they must be advertising themselves as like home gardening on their Google platform where they choose like what category to be in because they keep showing up despite the fact that they were blocked on this channel so many times. The advertising is pervasive and I think it's like kind of comedic and kind of sad that like their biggest selling point is that you can gamble from places it's illegal and you can do it when you're 18. Like that they're like, "Oh, Are you 18 and live in Utah? Finally, your solution's here. The moment you've been waiting for. And then they drop this commercial about how it's like the greatest thing of all time. So it's just a mess. Gambling isn't just sports betting or casino, it can be leverage trading, crypto, even betting on if someone is alive or not. Exactly. Gambling is any betting or wagering for self or others, whether for money or not, no matter how slight or insignificant, where the outcome is uncertain or depends upon chance or skill. That's what it is. Lost everything today, maximum debt, and feel awful. YouTube smartly recommended this stream to me. I'm really happy that you're here, my friend. Um, Unfortunately, people find the content sometimes because they're in a bad spot. I'm sorry if you're in a bad spot. I'm sorry if things are hard right now. I get it. I've been there. And hopefully, something that you hear tonight, something that you watch on the channel can be helpful for you. If you're really wanting to stop gambling, if you're ready, if you check out the description of this YouTube video, you'll see a link to a video called How to Stop Gambling. And in that video, I dive into literally everything I've done for the last 3+ years to stay clean. I feel like it's more than half. I feel like it depends where you're watching content, right? But if you're watching like a sport, it's way more than half as gambling ads. It's just horrible. They're just literally everywhere. So, what makes gambling so addictive? It releases neurochemicals in our brains that create excitement. It creates a sense of anticipation and it creates thrill. And we become addicted to it because we can actually get to this point where we feel like we have to keep gambling to feel okay. That's why. Down bad in day trading and gambling, 34 years old, have 900 tune in because of it. You either have a lot of money or no money, and that's the way it's been for 15 years. It's terrible. I know that feeling very well, my friend. I'm sorry that it's been so long. I'm sorry that you've been pushing through this. I hope that you're able to find help on this channel and elsewhere. And if you guys need help, like please just send me a message. I'm going to point you in the right direction. When did the feeling of joy disappear for me with gambling and was replaced with addiction? I don't think it was one or the other. I think it kind of varied between the two, and addiction was kind of just one that was more present. And sometimes I felt joy, sometimes I didn't. But I would say that by the end of my gambling, maybe like the last year of the gambling, it was like I wasn't even getting enjoyment out of it. It was just being done out of habit. But the addiction was probably there the entire time, my friend. How can you tell if a friend is borrowing money in order to gamble? You can't. You can't. That's gambling addiction is known as the hidden addiction because it's very easy to hide it from others. They very well might need that money for something else, or maybe gambling caused the reason that they need that money, but it doesn't appear to be for gambling. Very difficult. Your friend said gambling needs to be legal because of freedom, but I thought freedom to destroy oneself isn't nice. I rarely get into the topic of legality. What I know shouldn't be legal is the way that gambling is advertised. Like I can very confidently tell you it's advertised in a predatory way to keep re-engaging people and squeeze them for all that they're worth. And that's what the problem is. I don't think it's the problem is that they exist. I think it's that we're allowing them to exist kind of uninfringed. They can literally do and say whatever they want. I gamble regularly in Las Vegas at the no limit table. I've been investing in day trading for 15 years. I could have retired 2 years ago or 10 years from now. What is the problem? I don't know what the problem is, Rufus. That was a lot of back and forth. The reality is, we can say, I wish we did such and such, but we gambled it away. There's no value in like regretting things. There's no value in looking back and saying you wish you did things differently. It's only about what can you change from here on out. They say to focus on what's within your control and realize that things that happened in the past are outside your control now. Wesley, appreciate you again, my friend. Yes, I'll be checking out the email. I feel like you've emailed me before. Maybe we just didn't get around to it. So it is what it is. Influencers promoting gambling to kids. I feel sorry for the next generation. Absolutely. I think we're heading down a really dangerous path. We are. Because when they're showing it, they have a direct incentive to make it look fun, make it look risk-free, like it's going to be fine. There's no negatives to it. Like that's what they need you to believe so that you sign up and use their code and get paid when you sign up. So I didn't realize that I had a gambling problem until your video popped up in the YouTube feed almost 2 years ago. I'm happy to have been a part of the process. I'm sorry that you have a gambling problem, but I'm happy that to be a part of that process, my friend. Never gambled and don't have any intention with starting. Congratulations, my friend, but thank you for the love. That is dope. I would recommend not doing it if I was to be asked, should I do it or not do it? But yeah, some people just do it, and if they ever do develop a problem, they know where to come now. But I appreciate you, my friend. Can gambling become more addictive because of AI? I think that AI and customization and like personalization of gambling is going to make it even more addictive. Yes, I do think that's going to happen in the future. Probably not that far. So I think alcohol and gambling go hand in hand. Did I struggle with both? If you don't mind asking, I didn't really struggle with both, but they certainly can go hand in hand. Drinking can make you lower your inhibitions and gamble more. You can develop the same kind of dependency on gambling as you can on alcohol, and so you can have both addictions going at the same time for sure. They don't make it. They don't make it better. Pokemon can be gambling. Yeah, collecting the cards can certainly be gambling. I don't do it. I play the video game because I'm a nerd. But I do think that collecting the cards, if you're doing it to try to make money with it, you could be doing literal gambling, 100%. Am I a Christian? Do I have see? I seem to have a good understanding of truth. I really don't identify with any religion. All I know is about my gambling addiction, and so what I do is share my story. And if it aligns, that's great. I'm happy to hear. Humans are habitual or addictive. Are habitual or addictive or traditional? Too many things. I don't know. Maybe. How did I hide my gambling addiction considered that I used to gamble for so long during college? I didn't really try that hard to hide it, but what I did was downplay it, right? How much are you gambling? Oh, I'm gambling this amount, not this amount, which was the reality. Um, I would put bets in and then go on my daily activities and then check on the results of the bets. It was like, it just becomes a part of your life. It sounds really interesting. Mm. Take on soft gambling. It's all just gambling. Gambling is any betting or wagering for self or others, whether for money or not, no matter how slight or insignificant, where the outcome is uncertain or depends upon chance or skill. It's just gambling. There's no soft or I don't want to say hard gambling, but like there's not that either. Mm. I gambled every single day, most basically every single day for 6 years, for an average of 8 to 10 hours per day. Put myself into debt 6 different times over those 6 years on sports betting, slot machines, casino games, poker. Did it all, slots, stocks. Over the course of those 6 years, 6 different times, I was in debt to the point that I had to work a second job to pay it off. The last day that I gambled was a 12-hour gambling binge where I put myself into debt for the next 6 months working 2 jobs. I started off with daily fantasy sports, but by the end of my gambling, had memorized the soundboard of slot machines that I was playing. I lied to those around me about why I needed money. I gambled constantly, and it's the only thing that gave me a sense of purpose in my life for a very long time. Now, in recovery, I create content aimed at helping other people who are going through it to avoid going as far down the path as I did. And if you're here, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, hit the follow, hit the subscribe button, join this community because I work hard every single day to spread that message because I genuinely don't want to see you make the same mistakes that I did. So hopefully that explained it, Mister. Appreciate you. Did I have my gambling again? It was more suppressing. It was more downplaying how bad things were. It wasn't necessarily like running off to a different room to place bets. It was more just like, not talk about it so much. How bad it actually was. I've reported so many gambling streamers in the last year for promoting. Yeah, nothing happens because money's being made. When money's being made, nothing really matters. Hmm. Is the reason why you gamble because you won? Sometimes, but really, when I look back, the reason that I was gambling is because it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me something that was my own that I thought I could get better at, that I could get better, and become a professional. You know, I didn't want to go down the normal path in life, and I certainly didn't. Now that we look at what I do for a living, but at the time, I really thought that gambling was the way out, and it was a lie. Mhm. What do I advise you, even though you're gambling small amounts? I don't advise you anything. If you decide one day that you think that your gambling is causing problems in your life, please come back to the page. But I could tell you to stop gambling, and then it becomes me telling you to do it, right? I don't tell people what to do anymore because I realize that I don't want to be the bad guy. I only want to help you if you want to help yourself. So I don't tell people to do anything in particular, actually. Yes, I borrowed to gamble and I lied about the reasons I needed money. I did bad things to gamble, guys. That's what a gambling addiction does. They say it causes only one of three outcomes: prison, insanity, or death. That's the reality of it. So We're going to be calling it in just a couple of seconds here. I want to thank each and every one of you that took the time to be here, to ask questions, to engage with the content, and of course, those that decided to join this community tonight. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to keep posting videos. We are going to be posting another one tomorrow, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So check that out. Of course, there's lots of videos here on the YouTube channel. So if you're over on Facebook, come over to YouTube. It's a little more fun over here. But thank you guys all for being here. Thanks for the love in the chat. And of course, you know how we end it. We gotta keep getting better together, one day at a time.